goodness. Good, 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 good. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late. I popped on and it was saying there's no live, and it, is there, dang, it is alive, and the people are waiting. And so I was just tapping on the wrong place. So anyway, sorry. um I'm really glad. First of all, happy December 16th. I'm really glad to see so many of you using um the idea of asking questions ahead of time. I really appreciate that, because often I'll come on and like I said before, people will have questions afterwards, or that they'll say afterwards, and think, dang it all, why don't you say something beforehand? So I'm really glad that you have been. Um, so if you want to pop down where it says say something in the chat box, you are welcome to do so. If you don't, that is fine too. We've got a lot of material today, and so I'm going to be drinking some cranberry ginger ale and jumping right in. So the first question that is from Stacy, and Stacy was asking about last week, during this past week. She was asking how it is, and she's a physician. She was asking how it is that she can feel so empathetic, almost empathic with her patients, feel like she knows what they need almost inevitably, but when it comes to herself, her own awareness of her wants and needs is not as adept. And why is that? So obviously, when we're talking in Q&A and I don't have the opportunity to get and sit with you and hear all the details, obviously I have to make some broad sweeping statements, and have to give some, when I say educated guesses, that's because I'm not there with you, but I can make some generalizations. And one of the first things that I actually mentioned in my response, which is really important and certainly not the whole answer, but super important. Founding members, you've already been through this. New members, you'll hear me talking about this, that we often misuse the word feel. I feel that. I feel like those are not feelings. Those are opinions. Those are ideas. Those are perceptions. So here's the thing. You've heard before, your feelings can't be wrong. And that is absolutely true. Your feelings can be the result of thoughts and perceptions that are inaccurate, that are in fact misperceptions, if that makes sense. And so when that's the case, right, if I'm thinking, if I were on Columbus's ship years and centuries ago, and I thought that the world was not in fact round, and we're going out there, how am I going to feel? I'm going to feel terrified. Feel. And what am I going to do then? I'm probably going to freak the heck out. Humans operate, and you'll hear me talk about this over and again, on a think. I'm guessing the founding members are literally saying this with me: think, feel, do. Okay. And that is the case here as well. So it's super important to note that when we say that we think we feel like we know this, or we feel like we know that about a person, we may be right. And there are a couple of reasons I think that in a particular, like if you're in your line of work, that you're doing something over and over, even varies, of course, from time to time, and there are extenuating factors, of course, that's different than, sorry, I'm just realizing I left my phone here. Let's turn this off too. There we go. It's a discombobulated day, everybody. Okay, so that being said, it is very frequent that we do mistake our perceptions for others, and that's mind blindness, and that's where we can get a little off and think, in fact, that we do, or really truly believe that we do know what somebody else is wanting, and we're in fact wrong, which is why it's always worth asking. here's what I'm thinking, or here's what I'm hearing, is that. And I would imagine as a physician, that's probably something you're already doing. Here's what I'm hearing, what I'm getting from you is, that's great. That's reflective listening. I say listen like a mirror. It is super important. People think it's not. People think it's like psycho mumbo jumbo. It's not. It's really important for us. We'll talk more about that too. But, okay, so here is the thing. Folks on the spectrum, remember, we're all on the human spectrum. Like, that's our first thing. So, Cecilia, to your question about what is autistic burnout, there's no such thing. There's burnout. We may reach certain levels sooner, but we also reach other levels more slowly. We'll talk more about that, but here we go. We're all on the human spectrum first. One of my all-time is the song Lean on Me. Right. And the line in it is, for those of no one can fill those of your needs that you don't let show. We've lived in a world, all of us, where if we're on the spectrum, or our children do if they are, where doing one thing, presenting one thing, and in one way, is not actually what's going on, right? Because our facial expression may not match. Our experiences may not match what's going on in our head, our sensory expression. The other day, my mom said to me, you look mad. I wasn't. I was overwhelmed sensorially, but I was definitely not mad. But that's how it was coming across. And I have learned myself that that oftentimes when I'm feeling distressed, worried, it can come off as looking disgusted with somebody. And that's like the last thing I'm trying to convey. I'm worried about you. I'm thinking about you. What can we do? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, disgust is the wrong thing. And I think probably because I'm probably doing like, I don't know, maybe. And it's just coming off completely wrong. So if you have to think about it, that we're living in a world, Stacy, where you have probably learned, because there is a narrower field of, you've been taught, first of all, you were explicitly and intellectually taught in medicine, right, that A may equal B. It could equal the zebra. We all know right, when you hear hoofbeats, look for horses, not zebras. And sometimes it is, in fact, zebras. But there's a narrower scope. And when you are so attuned to the nuances, we are so good at picking out the smallest nuances, the smallest indicators of pattern, that where things may look absolutely, utterly disconnected for others, to us, it's, I can see this super clearly. Of course, I can understand. And we do then tend to confuse thought and feeling. So we say gut feeling. A gut feeling is really a thought. So it's a little bit more of a, when you are feeling certain and confident in what you are reacting to, what you are prescribing, what you are being aware of, Stacey. And I think that you are. Obviously you are, but I believe you are, because you have become so good and so fast at looking at, at connecting dots, because you've seen some semblance of those dots before. And you can see, even if the picture changes just a little bit, enough of something that's going to make you go, aha, see, right? And then you're responding to it in a way that is so instantaneous, that has become so just almost organic, that what you're doing feels intuitive. And it becomes intuitive, but it becomes intuitive. It is that we are collecting. We don't make generalizations very well. However, if we have enough individual experiences where we can collect smidgens of information and then be able to give them to our pattern-loving brains that will pull out these threads, then what we are able to do is, in fact, see interweaving patterns and trends that then become so intuitive to us, because we are so dang fast at them. So dang fast, that we are able to, in fact, have a really good, almost empathic idea of what's going on. It's really very similar to what I do with all of you a lot of times. You know, out in the world, I'll hear somebody say A or B, or I'll hear somebody here say A or B, and I know almost instantly what's actually going on. And that's just not to say that I know better. That's literally my area of expertise. If you were asking, would I have the same gut instinct? Really? About mountain climbing? Nope. Everybody would be done. Kilimanjaro would, be the end of all of us, right? Like, that's just not what I can do. Also, then when we go to the second part of your question, Stacey, when you're asking about, okay, well, what about myself? Well, I should add this. If you remember from Heals, if you read Heals, there are two types of empathy. And the world recognizes one type most often, in fact, defines it interchangeably with theory of mind and cognitive empathy. So when they're seeing us, right, we've learned to understand ourselves, or try to understand ourselves, in terms that aren't our terms, because we are not intuitive about ourselves. We are not able to learn about ourselves. We are not able to anticipate what we need. What we are is trying to do one thing in a way someone else is telling us because it works for them, but not for us. It's kind of like, if you really need to take an airplane from one side of the continent to the other, and somebody's like, no, you really need to do this by bike. Well, if you're Lance Armstrong or whoever, I guess maybe you're okay. It's not going to work. Okay. So remember, that's not our kind of empathy. We can learn it. We can learn, again, lots of patterns, lots of little experiences that we can then start to generalize. We can take them all, like those mosaic pieces, like, where we talk about focusing on the pieces instead of the whole. Well, in this case, we're trying to create a whole. We're bottom-up learners, so thinkers, not top-down, right? So we're looking at all the things that are on the bottom, and we're building up ideas from that. I mean, in certain professions, that is really, really, really helpful. Definitely in healthcare, whether it is of body, of the mind, it doesn't matter. So, okay, there's that, but, we don't look both ways naturally. We just have to accumulate data, essentially, and then start to extrapolate from there. What we have in Buku's, I'm going to read this to you just to remind you, what we have in Buku's is emotional empathy, which essentially feels like you are catching things. You are catching emotion. And this is why I think it's so important to recall that, right, our hearts can feel so exposed, so raw, that bearing one more sorrow would break us. So when we don't have healthy activities to busy our perseverating brains, which do wonders when we're trying to figure out other people intellectually, or have a support network to help us process, survive, or even harness it, many people simply try to turn down the volume in unhealthy ways. Because if you recall this little bit here, effectively, which is what we're talking about, when clinical research has been conducted to measure and evaluate levels of cognitive and affective empathy. And guess what? Cognitive, we're not so hot. We can't do it naturally. Affective, oh yes, we can. In fact, our affective empathy scores are higher than all neurotypicals across the board. And that is because we do catch emotion to some degree. And why can't we do it for ourselves? I would say to you, Stacey, that by the end of your first part of Belong, the end of your initial course, you'll be doing it a lot better for yourselves. It's that right now you have been trying to understand your own wants and needs, trying to anticipate them, right? Think, feel, do, think, feel, do. You've been doing according to feelings, which have resulted from thoughts that are not actually in line with what you, as somebody on the spectrum, need. Okay? Because again, it's that no one can tell those of your needs that you don't let show. Well, we show them differently, and alexithymia, which is also in there, which is pretty much almost, it's massive among people on the spectrum. We are not good at identifying the nuances naturally of our own emotions. And therefore, our emotional regulation skills, not great. And they get in the way of our thinking skills. And if we can't think, we can't plan. Long answer, but I hope that it makes a lot of sense to you, because there was a lot in there. So my point is, you're going to be as good at it. You're going to get good at it. When you're in your own head, you will never be able to be as objective. You simply won't be, because you are looking through lenses that are not absolute value, right? But you will, and you absolutely will be able to recalibrate your possible as you learn to recalibrate your understanding of the way you take in information, the way you think about it, the way you feel, what you're actually feeling, and then what you do based on those things, and what you, I hope that makes sense, because I know it was a long answer, but I think it was important, and there were a lot of conversations going on. There was also thrown in there a little bit about hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is the result of little t traumas and big T traumas. It's when we're on guard, and that creates anxiety perpetually, even when we don't actually need it. So that's a different thing. We certainly have to remember to give ourselves kindness and gentleness, and understand how that can play into our thinking, the inaccuracy of our thinking. And then also therefore, emotional dysregulation, which just then sends us spiraling, she says, from personal experience on many occasions. Okay, let's see if I can keep going. Cecilia, you had asked, and you're welcome, about that makes sense about the autistic burnout. Yes, so there really isn't autistic burnout. What it really comes down to is, again, burnout. For everyone is energized. I'll get it out. Everyone is energized by different things, right? So I am energized by, believe it or not, certain social situations, but the social situations are ones where I'm teaching, where I'm performing, where I essentially have a script, either a script or, and I don't mean an actual script, but even like if I'm giving a presentation, my slides are almost all just images, and then I just use them as cues, right? But I know what I'm going to say more or less. Why? Because like Stacy, I've become almost intuitive. I can respond to what's going on live in an audience. Plus, I did theater forever, so it's a natural thing to me, and I get the energy back from the crowd. I did a keynote a couple weeks ago, just like this. I could see no one except for myself. It was horrible. But afterwards, I am exhausted. I am depleted. And that if I'm, yesterday I went, let's see, to 2 different stores, big deal, right? But especially with all the COVID stuff, haven't been out much, all that. And then there was just some other stuff during the day, but I had a social hangover. I had an absolute social hangover after just going to the stores. It's not like I was having major interactions with people, although I do tend to be chatty. Why? I'm performing, and if I'm performing, then I'm more comfortable. I'm more in control of things. Then I came home and was just done. Now, for other people, that might be really energizing. When I'm there, it kind of is. It kind of keeps me going. But at home, boom, right, done. There is something called spoon theory. And we're going to actually talk about that today. I am recording the masterclass for next week. And Carly Fulgham, oh my gosh, you're going to love her. She is the chair of the Executive Advisory Board for the Autism Society of America. We just changed our name of Autistic Advisors. I get it wrong. We have just changed our acronym, but I'm on it with her. And we had an amazing experience about understanding one another and spoon theory, and how other people wouldn't get that. Spoon theory just has to do with understanding that for different people, different things take different amounts of energy. I will do a bonus on it. You don't have to go reading and Googling, because goodness knows what you can find sometime, but we will do something about it. Okay. All right. Last question that I can remember. I think this was Tiffany. Tiffany, if I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. But I think it was you. So she was a little confused by the video, and I do love your comments. I love hearing how people get so excited, and I think it was Layla who was like, yes, absolute value. I'm like, I'm teaching you like a nerd, and it's Awesome. But okay, so I decided to pick some objects besides baking goods because you can't really hold them all here. The concept is this, right? I'm going to show you a bunch of different pieces here. Hold on, hold on, hold on. I went into my son's room, and in my son's room, I found these. You might recognize the bane to bare feet everywhere, also known as Legos, okay? Now, or Lego, all laid out like this. I could use this red thing to build a fire truck if I wanted to, or to go in a brick wall. I could use this to be part of Santa's sleigh. I could use these wheels, absolutely, to make, let's see, well, in the past we've done trucks that were like toy trucks going to the little advent, from an advent thing. Okay, well, let's see. Let's say I wanted to just take some of these guys, and I'm going to take these two wheel things, and can I hook them together? Oh, look at that. I can hook these two together sideways and see if I can make, yeah, that's kind of cool. I can, if I wanted to and I was hanging out with somebody, I wanted to put the toys together, I could put it together like this. This is a very odd shaped thing, but I could go sideways. I can just like a weird scooter, or I could put it in the front. That'd be cool. Okay. When Legos come together, or come in a package, right? What do they generally come with? They come with instructions. And that's because all asunder, they are nothing but parts. They are nothing but pieces. And again, we, the way our brains are naturally, wired, and we tend to be much more focused, right, on parts and pieces. And we don't see the whole as well. We don't notice oftentimes that we are in need of more direction, that we actually need, that we are creating a group, when in fact we need to be creating a team. What's the difference? I'll tell you. The difference is that a group, whether it was baking goods or whether it is little Lego pieces, a group is things that come together, or rather that are in a gathering perhaps, but they are not in any way, shape, or form united in purpose. And when things aren't united in purpose, then they're not going to form, they're not going to function. But when we have a plan with what something is supposed to do, I think I got the front wrong, but you get the idea. It's a little race car, okay? We have a hard time seeing beyond our individual goals and understanding how we can act as a team. We have a hard time making sure that we're clear about what each one of us bring to the table, and then finding ways as a team, whether that's in a family, whether that's here at Belong, understanding how we fit in. And when you don't really know how you fit into a team, you don't really feel like part of the team. That's because oftentimes there isn't a team. I'm going to read you something again quickly, just so I can quote, because I realize we're like really at the end of time, overtime. This is from the Asper Kids game plan, okay? But here's, So we had all the different baking items on the table. They were a group of individual things. A whole bunch of random stuff sitting on the tray, not doing anything, as my daughter called them. And that was about right. A group doesn't get much done at all. Why? Because they're random things without purpose. So what is the difference that makes something a team? That is something that comes together, a purpose. And purpose creates movement or deliciousness. It certainly creates nutrition for the soul. We need to understand how here at Belong, we can break down what it is that we know that we want for ourselves and practice working together to find purpose. I have my purposes for bringing you here and inviting you here, but you made choices. So my question to you was, if you can learn, and I can even, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to send that journaling. That's okay. So if we can learn the rules, if you will, of working together well as a team, then we do better as individuals too. And it takes verifying, it takes communication. So before we moved on, my question was for you to each think about what your goal would be for Belong, if you could, for your class, your new member class. What part you want to bring to that, what you would like to see your group do together as a team once you can come together with purpose. So what is it? And maybe that means in your household, not just to Belong. Maybe it's you and your partner. What goals do you want to set for yourself that can only happen if you have a united purpose? And again, any pieces can come together. Any pieces, any random ingredients, any random things, each one on their own is its own entity. But there has to be a plan, a purpose to create something of worth. I hope that makes a little bit more sense. Okay, everybody, we are over, but I hope it was worth your while. As always, you all are fantastic. Next week, and Tiffany, I think it was also you asking about some of the formatting. Right, so everybody has all access to all of the masterclass library and to all of the Belong lives that have happened in the past, but I believe that I have a way to break that out so you see them as different products. I'm going to do a little experimenting, okay? Because, it's not been a big deal before and I think that's why the original founding members had no problem with it, because there were only so many, the library was only so big. Library's getting a lot bigger. So, okay, everybody, I really do love you very, very much. So for my founding members, you all tomorrow have your bonus, What's in a Name? And for my wonderful new member class, you all have your step 1, module 2, lesson 3 and 4, and the great and wonderful introduction of Edgar. Oh, I wanted to use Edgar today in a demonstration for that, but nope. You gotta wait a day. He's so worth it. Okay, everybody, have a great day, and I will see you all very soon. Lots of love.